Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. And again, we are very blessed and honored to have with us Judge Andrew Napolitano, the man who I believe should be President of the United States. And if you don't agree with me, then support either the dumbbell that ran against Trump, Kamala Harris, or the lying piece of scum, Trump. Remember, this is the guy. Hey, you elect me. I'm going to be the peace president. Yeah, peace president? How about a piece of shit? How about a lying guy? And again, that's one of your trends journals. Yep. Then and now, what he said when he ran for office and what he's done. And Judge, you have an article here coming out tomorrow, Trump, War and the Constitution. Has the United States become what President Donald Trump recently condemned? Can the president fight any war he wishes? Can Congress fund any war it chooses? Are there constitutional and legal requirements that must be first met before war is waged? These questions should be central to the debate over the U.S. involvement in Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran. Sadly, there has been no great debate. The mainstream media are mouthing what the CIA is telling them. And there are only a few websites and podcasts are challenging the government's reckless, immoral, illegal, and unconstitutional wars. Here is the backstory. Judge, I just want to say what you wrote, this is so important that everybody should understand. And you write also, again in saying, Trump recently can the president fight any war he wishes? Fight? They don't fight. They send other people to go fight. Right. All they got are fat mouths and draft dodges, like that little scumbag Biden. 5 draft deferments? Trump, what, 4 or 5 draft deferments? I'm the same age.
Oh, Gerald, Trump has a bad right foot.
No, a bone spur on his ankle.
Unbelievable. Look, the world is thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for the kind introduction. Thank you for the kind comments about my article. I believe it is important for people to understand the Constitution and the law. Only Congress can declare war. That's pretty clear under the Constitution. When is the last time Congress declared war? December 8th, 1941. We all know what that was about. Since then, we've fought between 35 and 36 wars. Depends how you measure them, how you calculate them. Not a single one was declared by Congress. Congress funds them and then looks the other way. Congress doesn't have the guts to have a debate about whether or not a particular potential military target poses a serious threat to the United States of America. Right now, the United States government has 3 targets: Russia, Gaza, and Iran. Not any of them, Russia, Gaza, or Iran, poses a scintilla of threat to the national security of the United States. What about treaties? We have no treaty with Ukraine that obligates our military assistance or presence in Ukraine. We have no treaty with Israel, none, that obligates our funding their war of slaughter and genocide in Gaza and their war of destruction, which apparently we're about to join in Iran. Netanyahu has been complaining about Iran having nuclear weapons going back to 1995. And every time he complains about it, he says it's weeks away, it's weeks away, it's weeks away. 2 months ago, the head of national intelligence of the United States of America, the president's principal and, as far as we know, exclusive advisor on matters of intel, said the intelligence community unanimously concludes Iran has not been developing nuclear weapons since the program was canceled in 2003, 22 years ago. When the president was confronted with this on Air Force One, he said, I don't care what she says.
Yep.
You don't care what your principal advisor in matters of intel says? She should resign if he doesn't care what she says. And what source is he using if it's not the intelligence community for which we pay hundreds of billions of dollars to gather data?
You think she'll resign?
No, I think she
She'll
enjoys.
bow down and suck up like
Yeah,
the rest of them?
yes, she enjoys the pomp of power more than she enjoys intellectual honesty. She was intellectually honest, and that was only 2 months ago, in the middle, or 3 months ago, in the middle of March. But she apparently, like a little puppy dog, went running to her master after he made this comment. He could have said, she and I need to speak to make sure we're on the same page. But for him to say to his director of national security, the person who briefs him every single morning, I don't care what she says, these people are in another world.
You know, the what's going on is just terrible. And again, they're all bowing down to Trump. Here's the what Trump said the other day. This is what we wrote in the Trends Journal, by the way. The lying president who sold himself as a peace candidate demanded that Iran should bow down to Israel's bombing invasion and unconditionally surrender. He also threatened that he might have Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, killed. Quote, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target. We are not going to take him out, quote, kill. At least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Trump said there was not much in the mood to negotiate with Iran, a real end to the war and not a ceasefire agreement. He wants, quote, you ready? Unconditional surrender. Unconditional surrender.
I think he's living in a fantasy world. Unconditional surrender to whom? We have not declared war. We can't, for the reasons legally, for the reasons articulated in my column. Therefore, if the United States of America takes out the Ayatollah, that would be an act of murder for which the president could not pardon himself and for which there is no statute of limitations.
You know, this article, you keep going on to say, last month, Trump condemned the neocons' forever war and Western military intervention in the Middle East. We know he didn't mean what he said. We have reposed the Constitution for safekeeping into the hands of those who ignore it. The consequences are death of innocence and the undermining of constitutional norms. And the U.S. continues to be what Trump verbally condemned.
Precisely. When he made that speech in Saudi Arabia, you, Phil Giraldi, Colonel McGregor, Professor Sachs, we all rejoiced. Professor Mearsheimer, however, said, I don't believe him. Yep. Mearsheimer was right, and the joy of the rest of us was short-lived. He was reading what somebody else wrote for him. He didn't even pronounce words properly, meaning he hadn't even proofread it. It was part of a deception, a stunt, a trick, a canard to lull the Iranians into a false sense of security. The Israelis murdered the very human beings who were sitting down with Mr. Witkoff in the negotiation, the very people at the opposite side of the table, ready to go to the next negotiating session on Friday were murdered, excuse me, on Sunday, this is last Sunday, were murdered on Thursday night, and Trump lauded it.
Judge,
The terrible state of affairs that we're in now. I mean, if the House of Representatives goes to the Democrats, he'll be impeached for the third time, this time for profoundly serious reasons of leading the country into war. This is like Dick Cheney ordering the intel about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction to be re-articulated so as to back up their forever war. It's the same thing all over again. History repeating itself. Only this time, there are people that may come to Iran's defense. The Pakistanis have weapons that could demolish Tel Aviv in a heartbeat.
You know, Joe Lauria, we did a roundtable with Joe Lauria, Consortium News. And that's a great site, by the way. He puts up terrific things, Consortium News. And we had Dennis Kucinich here, Scott Ritter, Garland Nixon, myself.
I watched it. It was terrific.
Thank you. And Lauria said, you know, when they try to impeach Trump, that was a lot of crap back in when he was president, and which I agreed. You know, it was a lot of baloney. And he said, but now an impeachment is for real, considering what he's doing. And I agree with him. Trump, because again, it's what you write. President Donald Trump came into office, this is what you, in your article, promising to end America's forever wars. Instead, the United States continues to fund a war his predecessors entered into in Ukraine, the goal of which was to eliminate Russian troops from Ukraine and Crimea and Russian President Vladimir Putin from office. None of these objectives is realistically attainable. In Gaza, the Israeli goal has been to remove by death or force all Palestinians from their ancestral land. The goal, which is morally reprehensible and militarily unfeasible, has produced more than 55,000 civilian deaths, none of this to the benefit of the United States.
You know, Tom Woods, you've heard me use this before, our friend from the Mises Institute and himself a well-regarded independent scholar, says no matter who you vote for president, you end up with John McCain. and it sounds funny, but it's true on foreign affairs. No matter what they say, liberal, Democrat, conservative, Republican, they all want to kill. And Trump is no different. As recently as 2 months ago, he said he's the president of peace. As recently as 2 days ago, he demonstrated that that's not the case.
You know, going back to the negotiations that they were having with Iran, remember I said right in the beginning, I said, this is a lot of bullshit.
Yes. You saw through it. I thought it was sincere. The Iranians thought it was sincere. And then the negotiators were murdered. Trump says he doesn't want civilians killed. The Israelis have targeted residential neighborhoods and, of course, the Iranian radio and television headquarters because they don't want the Iranian people to be able to hear their own government's version of exactly what is happening. The Israelis would probably target an Israeli radio station if it were anti-war and anti-Netanyahu.
You know, I heard that you can't get at people can't leave Israel. They're not letting anybody leave.
Well, I don't know how they would leave. According to Ritter, Ben Gurion Airport is inoperable because of the Iranian attacks. But one of the signs of a totalitarian government is denying people the ability to travel and to leave the clutches of the government. Thank you, Bibi Netanyahu.
There was an article here, I don't know if I found it here, but about they arrested people in Israeli police detained 5 protesters in Haifa. How do you say it? Haifa?
Haifa.
Haifa, saying "Stop the war." T-shirts are illegal. The people had T-shirts on saying "Stop the war," and they arrested them. Israeli police detained 5 protesters in northern Israel's Haifa during an anti-war demonstration for donning T-shirts with, quote, "Stop the war" written on them. You ready? Which police said were illegal. In footage obtained by Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, a policewoman is seen telling protesters that "Stop the war" is something that's illegal to have on a shirt. The police stated that the protesters were detained so that they could give testimony. This is, oh, by the way, this is the other bullshit they keep throwing out, that Israel is a democracy. It's an apartheid state.
Right. No question about it. I'm going to have to go because of breaking news that the Supreme Court is releasing opinions this morning. My apologies, Gerald.
Oh, thank you so much for what you're doing. Everybody go to Judging Freedom. Nothing like it. Judge, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best, my dear friend.